this press conference is the current state of affairs, this morning's session, the introductions from our two distinguished guests. So we leave the floor open. Ragnhild, you will direct the questions.
Yeah, Dougal McDougall, AP.
David McDougall from the Associated Press. Good morning. I wanted to ask for Mrs. Xi. This visit to Europe has been a real celebration of your life and your cause and your freedom, but looking to return to Myanmar and go about the business of practical politics. What steps have to be taken to address the democratic imbalances of the 2008 constitution? Not just ideals or hopes, but concrete measures that your party as political opposition has to take to bring about meaningful change.
First of all, I don't think of this journey as a celebration of my life. I think of it as a celebration of all those people who have supported the movement for democracy in Burma, because it's they who have made it possible for me to come on this journey. But practical steps towards amendment to the Constitution, I've always said, are linked to negotiations with the army. Because, as you all probably know, I don't know if you know, that in order to amend this constitution, you need more than 75% of the assembly to vote for amendments. And 25% of the assembly are representatives of the army. So even assuming that we get all the civilian representatives, which of course is not very likely because the great majority of them are from the USDP, to vote for an amendment, we would still need at least one army representative to vote for amendment. So we have to work together with the army. I've been very open about it. We want to work together with the army. We don't want to be in conflict with them. We want to achieve a consensus. We want them to understand that what we are doing is starting a process that will be better for the whole country. That will include the military as well.
NRK, Tom Christiansen.
Madam, Burmese see you as a mother of nations. You are a leader of an opposition party. How will you combine those two roles?
I'm not in opposition to the people. So I think it's perfectly all right for the people to see me as a mother if they wish to, although I'm not quite sure that I'm not sure whether it's a good thing or a bad thing to be regarded as a mother, because I don't quite know what they expect from me as a mother. But if what they expect is to serve them, is to do what would be good for them, then I'm perfectly prepared to play the role of mother. But they must also understand that I'm a politician, and I've always said to them that I will make them no promises which I cannot be sure of keeping. So the only promise I've ever made to them is that I will try my best. And this promise I will keep. I will try my best. But whether or not my best is good enough for them, time only will tell. I hope it will be good enough.
Frank Seller, AFP.
The recent changes in your country have been stunning, although you cautioned that we're only at the beginning of the road. Now, there have been many reasons, your campaign, sanctions, poverty, for why these changes came about. But from your talks with the president, and from your gut feeling, what is the crucial clinch factor that saw the generals change direction?
I don't think we can talk of just one factor. I think sanctions and the general reactions of the international community have a lot to do with it. And the other reason is that whether you like it or not, you have to recognize that Burma is not doing well. And I think the present government recognized that. In fact, I think even the previous government recognized that our country was not doing well. Our people were getting poorer, they were getting less well educated, their health was worse. I understand that in most countries the new generation is usually better educated than the older one. This is not the case in Burma. We find that in our country the younger people are less well educated than people of my age group. So I think they became aware of the fact that there were too many problems and that they were falling behind even their neighbors in our region.
What was
TV2.
That should song Carl wrote about you.
I like the song.
She's a Bob
very
Marley
much
fan.
because
So am
I think, are you talking about Walk On? Well, I like that song because it's very much it's very close to how I feel, that it's up to you to carry on. It's good if you have supporters. It's good if you have people who are sympathetic and understanding. But in the end, it's your own two legs that have to carry you on.
I mean, it's an impertinence in ways to write a song about someone that you haven't met, but we all feel we knew. And doubly so that I wrote it not literally, but from the point of view of her husband, Michael. So I'm amazed that it has been taken to her heart and to the hearts of others. It's you never know. If the song was shite, you know, could have made matters a lot worse.
TV2 Toast Offset.
Question for Bono. How would you rate of all living persons today Aung San Suu Kyi's efforts and her position and situation of freedom, and how has her work affected you on a more personal, professional level?
Well, I was just talking inside about, you know, I'm not sure how many people realize that Aung San Suu Kyi came on the road with U2 on our 360 tour. 7 million people we played to. She was there every night, a digital version, but she's very good live, and she made a real connection with our audience, indeed speaking to our audience. We would leave the stage and leave her to the audience and telling them that their voices were powerful and that they could be heard all the way to Burma. You know, and then there's the, you know, we have the, you know, we have a few people who would arrive up with a T-shirt with ASSK on and think she was a speed metal band from Asia, and it's sort of great that in a U2 crowd, not everyone's a political science student, but we had this, you know, we were responding to her call to make sure that the people of Burma and political prisoners of Burma would not be forgotten. I can't possibly assess what this lady will mean to the world. I can tell you what she means to me. And it's really her non-violent position that I find so impressive, because perhaps I find it hard to fathom. I'm a student of non-violence because I find it very hard to imagine how you can be so. And you know, you get the feeling with Daw Suu that it's not that, you know, peace is not the absence of war around us, but rather peace is the absence of war within us. And I think it's that sort of position that's unusual in a politician, and I think she will be remembered for that kind of spiritual insight, really, as much as the sort of nitty-gritty of her politics, because she's a tough customer too.
Aftenposten, Kristoffer Rønneberg.
You mentioned donor fatigue and compassion fatigue in the Nobel speech on Saturday. And you said it in relation to being at the refugee camp in Thailand. A lot of countries, including Norway, are now shifting their aid efforts from the exile communities to within the Burmese borders. How do you see that shift? Is it too early, especially since we're in Norway with regards to the Norwegian situation? And is it right of the international community to use the name Myanmar instead of Burma?
Well, first of all, let me explain the Myanmar-Burma part, because it's in a way quicker. The reason why I objected to the change of name was not because of the change itself, but because of the way in which it was changed. The State Law and Order Restoration Council, I think it was called, at that time, simply announced one day that the name of the country, the international name of the country, would be changed from Burma to Myanmar. without so much as a buy or leave where the people were concerned. And this, of course, is the ultimate in undemocratic practice, that the people did not even have a right to decide how they were going to be known to the rest of the world. And this is why I keep to Burma, because of the way in which it was changed, not because I actually object to the name Myanmar in itself. Now, with regard to donor fatigue and compassion fatigue, what you mentioned is true, that there seems to be more focus on helping organizations within the country than organizations outside the country. But I think that's a little different from compassion fatigue. A change of focus is not necessarily the result of compassion fatigue, but it could be linked to it. So while I am not objecting to help for those organizations within the country which will strengthen democratic institutions, I do not think that refugees in particular should be, there are many groups abroad, of course, we talk about exile groups in general, but I am of the opinion that refugees in particular should not be forgotten, and that the donors should continue to do the good work that they have been doing. I also mentioned the fact that the Thai government also needs to be helped, because host countries have responsibilities and problems and difficulties that need to be resolved with the help of the international community.
A gentleman in the red ribbon.
Mentor from the Burmese asked to see the Burmese please. Doesn't it go right never the country never experienced genuine political negotiation with the Taliban. So not basing it your not your time we can do some about it. But it's about going to the negotiation of the messages of now to me for the South we are
ပထမဦးဆုံးကတော့ကျမနဲ့သမ္မတကြီးဦးသိန်းစိန်တွေ့တာကတော့တယောက်နဲ့တယောက်တွေ့ပြီးတော့ဆွေးနွေးတာနေတာပေါ့နော်ဒါပေမဲ့ဒီဟာတကယ်နိုင်ငံရေးဆွေးနွေးပွဲလို့ကျမကတော့မမြင်ပါဘူးဘာဖြစ်လဲဆိုတော့ဒါလူဦးနှစ်ယောက်ကြားမှာဆွေးနွေးမှုပဲဖြစ်ပါတယ်အဲဒီဆွေးနွေးမှုဆိုတာဟာဒီဓာတ်နဲ့ပို့ပြီးတော့ကျေပြန့်မှုလိုပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီဟာကိုကျမဆိုလိုတာပါအဲ့တော့တကယ်နိုင်ငံရေးဆွေးနွေးမှုဆိုတာဟာအားလုံးစပွဲဝိုင်းမှာထိုင်ပြီးတော့သက်ဆိုင်တဲ့သူတွေအထူးဖြင့်တိုင်းရင်းသားတွေလည်းပါမယ်ကျမတို့အစိုးရဘက်ကလူတွေလည်းပါမယ်တိုက်ခိုင်ဘက်ကလူတွေလည်းပါမယ်ကျမတို့တိုင်းရင်းသားလူမျိုးစုတွေကိုကိုစားပြုတဲ့ပုံကိုယ်တွေလည်းပါမယ်ဒါအိုမှကျမတို့ကဒါတကယ်နိုင်ငံရေးဆွေးနွေးပွဲလို့ခေါ်နိုင်မှာပါကျမတို့နှစ်ဦးချင်းကြားမှာပြောတာဆိုတာဆွေးနွေးတာလောက်နဲ့ဒါနိုင်ငံရေးဆွေးနွေးပွဲဖြစ်မြောက်တယ်လို့မဆိုနိုင်ဘူးဆိုတဲ့အဓိပ္ပာယ်နဲ့ကျမပြောတာဖြစ်ပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီဟာအတွက်ကျမတို့စူးစမ်းသွားအောင်ပါပေါ့လွတ်တော်အစရဲကျမတို့ကလွတ်တော်ပြင်ပကနေစူးစမ်းလာတာအခုကျတော့လွတ်တော်အတွင်းကလည်းစူးစမ်းမယ်လွတ်တော်ပြင်ပကစူးစမ်းမှုတွေလည်းကျမတို့ဆက်ပြီးတော့လုပ်ရမယ်တော့ဘိုးတို့နဲ့တွေ့ရတာဘယ်လိုနေလဲဆိုတော့တွေ့ချင်းမဲ့အင်မတန်မှဟိုမိတ်ဆွေဟောင်းလိုပဲစိတ်ထဲမှာခံစားမိပါတယ်နည်းလည်းမှမစိမ့်ပါဘူး
I totally agree.
That's better.
Ina Björgensen, okay.
Hello, Mr. Bono. Going back to Walk On, the song you dedicated for this lady next to you. What was the story behind? What was it that really triggered you to make that song and all the engagement of you two in supporting her struggle? And now, 12 years later, how do you feel about finally meeting her?
I've been a member of Amnesty International since my early 20s, and you two campaigned for Amnesty International in the 80s. And in fact, one of the founders of Amnesty International was an Irishman, Sean McBride. So through our work with Amnesty International, this is how we came upon the Dosu and her role. And what I think is so exciting for me, it's just that the audience, I think for people who signed up, in the 80s, Amnesty, we did a tour called Conspiracy of Hope Tour, and Amnesty doubled its membership in 6 weeks. And there is a sort of feeling when you have, you know, amateur activists, but all activists outside of professionals in that room are often amateur, and they should be. We want people in a whole society. You want culture represented, you want sports represented. So for them to see that progress can be made, for our audience, for the organization I represent, ONE, there's 3 million members of the ONE, the organization we founded, for them to see that if you raise your voice, that it is heard. Now, whether it's heard by the captors, in Amnesty's case, or the captives, is open to debate. But I have a funny feeling that, you know, military dictatorships are, you know, not just about muscle, they're quite vain. I think they read their email and the choruses of boos and hisses that they get. They kind of take the temperature of how much they're getting away with, or not. And so the roar of an audience in, whether it's Birmingham, England, or Chicago, or whatever, is heard. And I think seeing progress in Burma is just a great thing to encourage more people to get involved in the political process.
And how do you feel about it?
I'm starstruck, I think is the word, but I'm managing to get over it. I mean, I'm pretending like I'm not.
Last question to the gentleman, the second one.
Hi, with National Public Radio of the U.S. Some people would dispute your characterization that the root of the Rohingya problem is law enforcement's inefficiency or corruption among the immigration people. Some say the root of the problem might be your government's policy to deny citizenship to the Rohingya. Now, as leader of the opposition, people hope you will provide a clear set of alternatives to the government policy and speak up for the uprooted of the earth, as you put it so eloquently on Saturday. So, are the Rohingya citizens of your country, or are they not? Thank you.
I spoke about rule of law, and rule of law covers rules of citizenship as well. And this is what I mean by saying that the root of the problem is lack of rule of law. We are not certain exactly what the requirements of citizenship laws are. I will mention one particular case of one of our candidates for the last by-elections who was disqualified because, in accordance with the election regulations, all candidates have to be born of nationals. Both parents must be nationals. Now, this candidate of ours, his parents were both of them were Burmese nationals when he was born, but later his father took up another nationality, and on those grounds he was disqualified as a candidate. So this is what I mean. Even with regard to citizenship, we are not clear what the laws really are. And rule of law, if we were very clear as to who are the citizens of the country under the citizenship laws and who qualify, then there wouldn't be this problem which is always coming up, that there's this accusation that some people do not belong in Bangladesh or some people do not belong in Burma. Bangladesh says that they're not ours and Burma says that they're not ours, and these poor people get shuffled around. So we have to have rule of law. We have to know what the law is, and we have to make sure that it is properly implemented.
What should it be? What should it be in regard to their citizenship? Are they or are they not?
I do not know, because when you talk about the Rohingya, we are not quite sure whom you're talking about. As I said, there's a problem about whom we're referring to. There's some who say that those people who claim to be Rohingyas are not the ones who were actually native to Burma, but who have just come over recently from Bangladesh. But on the other hand, Bangladesh says no, they don't want them as refugees because they are not native to Bangladesh and they come over from Burma. So how do we sort this out? Without rule of law, without proper immigration processes, without proper policing, without proper implementation of the laws. This is why I said the root of all this is rule of law, going back many decades, not going back just to the crime that has been committed a couple of months ago.
Our time is up. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.